Hey there! In this video I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and it's also one of the subjects that speak to you the most. It's a subject that I wish that everybody knew about and understood, because if you really understood the concept I'm talking about and really wake up to how this is impacting your life, you really have the key, the first step, the really necessary ingredient to heal yourself, free your authentic self, and transform yourself in your life. And this subject is called the wound of unworthiness. We live in a very patriarchal, oppressive, hierarchical, fear-based, mind-controlling, and emotionally immature society. This society is asking of you to conform to certain roles already from a very young age. And this society, our politicians, our leaders, our teachers, our parents, if we're unlucky, use tactics such as shame, mind control, punishment to make you walk in line, to make you do as you are told. You are being asked to conform to very narrow roles of what it means to be a human being already from a very young age. I would almost say it's as if we are living in a binary, in a very narrow world where you can be just one or the other thing. And that is, you can be just a woman or a man. And being a woman or a man comes with all kinds of roles, expectations, social conditioning, behavior that is perceived as correct, behavior that is perceived as incorrect, etc. And to make you conform to these roles, whether you are a man or a woman, shaming, blaming, punishment, ridiculing, rejecting, etc. is used to make you conform. And as I said, these tactics are being used from when you go to school. And if you're unlucky, your parents also believe that these tactics help you to become a good civilian, a good human being, a good student, a good employee, etc. And they also use it at home, consciously or not, to hopefully help you grow up into a resourceful and resilient human being. But all these people who are guiding you are all stuck in this very binary, patriarchal, oppressive, and emotionally immature society, believing in tactics such as mind control, shaming, and blaming to help people grow up into successful adults or successful human beings. And this very narrow image of what it means to be a good human, a good woman, or a good man is almost forced upon you some way from a very young age. And this is teaching you already from a very young age that you have to conform to that role that is expected of you to succeed in this society. You feel the pressure that if you do not conform to that norm, that you will not succeed in this society. So you learn already from a very young age by your teachers, your parents, our political leaders, etc., that you have to leave or suppress your authentic self, your authenticity, your joy, your desires, your needs, your creative ideas, because there's no room for all of that in the society that we are living in the matrix that we are living in the survival mode and rat race that we are forced to be living in from a very young age. So you learn from a very young age that who you are isn't good enough. Who you intrinsically, authentically are is not going to help you succeed in this life. You learn that there is one way to success and that your way is not the way to success. And this creates an enormous conflict almost inside yourself. It's like, I have all these desires and all these wishes and all these ideas, but everybody is telling me that that is not realistic and that I should not follow that. That I should not follow the intuition and the desires and the needs and the emotions and the wisdom that is living inside of me. I learned from a very young age in this society that the truth that is living inside of me isn't the right truth. I learned to listen to sources outside of me. I learned to listen to authorities outside of me. And although I feel that I do not want to do that, I am so little, so small, and so vulnerable and dependent on the people around me to survive, that I will be left with a choice: authenticity or attachment and thus safety. So I will always choose attachment and safety so that I will survive. Because survival is my number one priority and goal, especially as a little child, but of course always as a human being, as a living being on this planet. We have this evolutionary system that wants to keep us alive. And this is hurting us. This is really hurting us from a very young age. Because we constantly are being forced to choose between who we truly are and to suppress that and to pretend we're someone we're not, to succeed and to receive love, recognition, validation. So it's as if we choose for survival or authenticity and then maybe death. And I know maybe this sounds a bit dramatic, but this is the choice that we are being forced to choose between as a little child. Often, like at home, with emotionally immature parents, with parents that traumatize us, with parents that are absent, with parents that we so desperately need, but that are so caught up by the system that they are living in, busy trying to survive in a system that is forcing us, everybody, to live in survival mode from a very young age, that we cannot reach them, we cannot connect with them, so we have to abandon ourselves to find them. And this self-abandonment is hurting us very much, and this is creating this wound inside. And at school, we are being taught to self-abandon. We are being taught that making mistakes doesn't help us succeed in life. We have to have good grades. We have to behave in a way that is expected of us. We have to sit still for 8 hours a day or longer or shorter where you're living. We learned things about life and history and economy, but we never really learn to get to know ourselves and express that. We never really learn to manage our emotions. We never really learn to create what is living inside of us and to manifest our visions. We never really learn to connect with our authentic selves and to believe and trust that being our authentic selves will make us succeed in life. We are continuously being told who you are is not going to help you succeed. You have to be this and this and this. You have to reach this and this and this. You have to listen to this person and this person. You have to make sure that these people somewhere over there in the 1% top see you, value you, and give you a chance. So you are being constantly asked to self-abandon, to abandon the truth that is living inside of you and to listen to authorities and truth outside of you. And this is creating a big war inside yourself. This is hurting yourself. You know that you abandon yourself and your authenticity, and you feel grief that you are doing that is being asked of you, and you do not want to do that, but it is as if you are not left with any choice. And this war, this battle, is making you internalize the story that by growing up in a society like this and by succeeding in this society, I cannot be myself, and thus who I truly am will never be enough. Who I truly am is unworthy of life. And I have to abandon that and suppress that to succeed and to receive the things that I so desperately crave as a human being, which is connection, validation, recognition, love, safety, being accepted for who you truly are. And this is what I call the wound of unworthiness, and how our society is set up in such a way that every human being will experience this wound, will create this wound inside of itself. And the most frustrating thing about this wound is that you can do your best to heal this wound, yes, and you can transcend the old stories and create new stories and slowly discover your authentic self and start with expressing that, and that will heal this wound, right? The more you express your authenticity, your needs, your desires, your boundaries, your creativity, the more you follow your desires and your joy and listen to the truth that is inside of you, go through the shame, go through the fear and the anxiety, etc. Yes, you will feel that you are filling yourself from the inside out with yourself and with your life force energy and your authenticity, and this will heal this wound. But still, we are living in a society that is still very oppressive, racist sometimes, not friendly for women, people of color, etc. A society that is still very patriarchal, hierarchical, that is still based on very old, toxic, masculine traits and values, and that doesn't value or see feminine traits as equal or as equally important or as even valuable. We still live in a society that has a system where you are dependent on bosses, managers, leaders to receive money and your salary to survive. So you still in some way are being forced to leave your authentic self to survive, also as a grown-up adult. So realistically spoken, we are still living in systems and in a society that is asking of us to self-abandon every day. And this is hurting everybody, more or less. It's still reopening this wound, right? So yes, you can heal this wound, but still we are faced with a society that is reopening this wound. So it's really hard to transcend it. And we have to try to do our best to create new and better systems and a different society where we aren't dependent anymore on self-abandonment to survive. And I know we have a long way to go, but I hope by creating this awareness that you become aware of this wound that is living inside of you and why you feel unworthy, why you feel insecure, why you have mechanisms such as perfectionism, people-pleasing, why you are afraid in relationships that you are betrayed, why you constantly are busy with if you are being loved well, etc. That it's not crazy, it's not in your head, it's because this society is created in such a way. And if you know that, then you can relax into the fact that it's not you, you're not broken, you're not crazy, there's nothing wrong with you. You live in a society that is asking of you from a very young age to self-abandon, to leave your authenticity, to suppress yourself out of shame. You live under such a big feeling of shame and that there must be something wrong with you because you were taught from a very young age that, hey, who you are, that's not a success story in this life. That's not the success formula for this life. You have to be someone you're not. So we are living in a world where a lot of people, like a lot of people are not who they truly are very deeply unhappy inside, having to abandon themselves, their emotions, their feelings, their intuitive wisdom, because they do not trust the truth that is living inside of them. And this is creating so much suffering in the world, in relationships. It's creating burnout, depression. It's creating mental health issues. It's creating people who are so sensitive for this dysfunction but do not understand that it is the dysfunction of the system and internalize it and think that they are the ones who are dysfunctional, who think they are crazy. But the crazy ones, the scapegoats, the people who fall out, the people who feel like they don't fit in, they are actually here to create this cultural change, to break cycles, to step out of the old and create a new, and to point towards the old and say, hey, this is not working anymore. It's dysfunctional. And I hope that if you are watching this video and you find yourself in these words and experiencing this wound of unworthiness inside of you, that you understand that your dysfunction, that your sensitivity, that your struggling and suffering and depression and burnout and anxiety is not because something is wrong with you, but because you are here to break free from the old, heal yourself from the effects of it, heal these wounds inside of you, and then start with pointing out the dysfunction, creating the new, become an activist in your field of work, and start with creating new and better systems that are beneficial for every living being on this planet. So if you recognize yourself in this, know that you're not alone. Know that there's not something wrong with you. You are being taught from a very vulnerable young age that there is something wrong with you, that you should abandon yourself and your intuitive wisdom, the truth that is living inside of you, your authenticity, in order to succeed, in order to receive praise, in order to receive a good grade, in order to be a good civilian and a good employee, in order to receive your money to survive, which is a very sick system. It's a very sick system that creates dependency of the people who are surviving in that system towards the people who are on top of that system. And this is crazy. And we have been living in this system for centuries and centuries and centuries, where oppression, racism, wars, slavery, abuse was and still is very present, which is causing collective trauma, individual trauma, familial trauma, which is causing your parents and their parents not being able to be emotionally present and mature enough to help you grow into a resourceful and resilient human being. We live in a system that was and is designed by men for men, and especially white, straight, heteronormative men who lived centuries and centuries and centuries ago and who were on top and leaders in religion, politics, finance, who controlled everything, who made sure that women weren't able to have their own bank accounts, etc. Like that's just one thing where women were being oppressed. But like, we are still living in the echoes of that. And we are still living in a system that was built and made centuries and centuries ago, up until today, which isn't then made for people who do not fit that norm, which is everybody who is not a white, straight, heteronormative man. So you not functioning in these systems is not because something is wrong with you. It's because the system was not built for you, and you have to work twice as hard. You have to prove yourself twice as hard. And you're very, very, very dependent on the people in the top of that system who were there before you, so it was never an equal, fair start to praise you or to cancel you in some way. And this dependency it's really sick, it's really toxic. And that is what is creating so much mental, physical, emotional suffering. And I hope that by hearing this, you wake up to this and you open your eyes and you see the system you are living in, the matrix you're living in, the rat race, the patriarchal, oppressive, emotionally immature society. And you understand that you will never succeed in that system the way you wish, because it was not built for you. And that you pull yourself out of that as much as you can, and that you start with healing from the effects of that and empowering yourself and finding your own voice and your own creativity and your own joy and passion, your own intuitive emotional wisdom that we need to create the new system, new society almost, where everybody can thrive, which is equal, and where everybody gets a fair start, where you do not have to have or earn money just to pay for your existence. But it all starts with understanding that this wound of unworthiness is living inside of you, how this is created, and to start with healing that wound. And I have a lot of videos about healing and the steps you can take towards healing the wounds that are living inside of you. And I even have created a whole platform, which is called Beyond Psychology, where you can become a member, and where I have gathered all my tools, my videos, my articles, my exercises to help you awaken to the facts that I just told you, to heal yourself from the effects of living in our society, to empower yourself and to free your authentic self and to transform yourself and your life, so that you will, together with me and many other people that came before us, start with building and creating the new. So I think I've talked too much today, so I will stop now before this video gets too long. Thank you for being here, listening to this. Hopefully this empowered you to start with waking up, transforming, healing yourself. Start this journey, because it will be the most freeing and beautiful journey there is. It will truly help you to free your authentic self and become a free, inspiring, authentic, empowered human being who uses its talents and gifts to make the world a better place, because that is what our world so desperately needs. Healed people heal the world, and the only way onwards is inwards. Have a nice day.